Annie Cannon was the eldest of 3 daughters, and when Annie was a young girl, her mother Mary taught her about the many constellations and their legends. She memorized every single detail about each one, from Andromeda to Vela. This childhood hobby led into her work not just with the constellations, but also with the stars that composed them. As soon as Annie was old enough, she attended Wellesley College in Boston, Massachusetts, where she studied both astronomy and physics. Soon after graduating from Wellesley, Annie's mother died. Her mother's death reminded her of the time they spent together learning about the stars. Annie decided to focus on astronomy completely after reminiscing. Annie put 2 more years into astronomy at Radcliffe College. After graduating from Radcliffe, Cannon was hired at the Harvard Observatory under E.C. Pickering. Annie was joined by other young female astronomers at the observatory, earning themselves the nickname of Pickering's Women. The women working under Pickering were sent to classify stars. Cannon was specifically told to categorize stars in the southern hemisphere. While classifying stars, Annie noticed how ineffective the system was, so she decided to come up with her own. As you can see, my diagram shows the relationship between temperature and luminosity in an orderly fashion. The higher the temperature, the higher the luminosity. The giants will become supernovas, the main sequence stars will become red giants, and the white dwarfs will become black dwarfs. Cannon was able to classify 225,000 stars with her new system, and her work was published in the Henry Draper Catalog. Cannon earned awards from the University of Delaware, Mount Holyoke College, and Oglethorpe College. She was also the first woman to receive an honorary doctorate from the University of Oxford and the first to hold an officer's position in the American Astronomical Society.
Annie Cannon presented with the Henry Draper Medal for Investigations in Astronomical Physics.
Throughout the remainder of her lifetime, Cannon continued to help women gain and maintain acceptance and respect within the scientific community. The diagram that Ms. Cannon has created is still used in astronomy classes throughout the country to this day. Here in Mrs. Church's class in Swartz Creek, we use Cannon's HR diagram to classify the brightest stars in our night sky.
Matilda Moldenhauer-Brooks was born around the year of 1890 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. However, records suggest she could have been born anywhere between 1888 and 1891. Matilda's parents are unknown. She started college at the University of Pennsylvania and became a part of the Kappa Alpha Theta while completing both her bachelor's and master's degree in science. Matilda met her soon-to-be husband Sumner Cushing Brooks in 1916 at the Research Institute of the National Dental Association in Cleveland, Ohio. They were then married in 1917. At the age of 30, she completed her doctorate's degree in biology and cell biology at Harvard University. After that, her and her husband began their work at the U.S. Public Health Service in 1920 to 1926. In 1927, Matilda became a part of the research staff at the University of California, Berkeley, along with her husband Sumner. In 1932, an experiment involving the dye methylene blue found that in very high doses it acted as an oxidizing agent and can treat methemoglobinemia. Methemoglobinemia is a condition where the normal oxygen-carrying hemoglobins transform from iron 2 to iron 3 methemoglobins. Methemoglobins do not carry oxygen and turn blood muddy brown in color. Normally, NADPH-dependent methemoglobin reductase enzymes reduce methemoglobins to hemoglobins. When large amounts of methemoglobins occur secondary to toxins, the methemoglobin reductases become overwhelmed, and the patient will die of chemical strangulation. But once methylene blue is injected into a vein, it must turn into leukomethylene blue, which reduces the heme group from the methaglobins to the nice, normal, oxygen-carrying hemoglobins.
Good morning, Mrs. Brooks.
Good morning, Miss Lily. Did you read that article on that one dye that I left on your desk yesterday?
Oh yes, I think it may be worth our while to look into it.
Okay, great. I'll get started. This isn't quite right. This is what Matilda would have actually seen if methylene blue was added to human cells. Here you can see the little blue specks that are actually real clumps of mouse cells that have become stained from methylene blue. These methemoglobins are turning into hemoglobins. They're like oxidizing. Here, come look at this.
What are you talking about?
Here, look for yourself.
That's exactly what we're looking for.
Imagine all the people we can cure for this. I mean, this is an antidote for cyanide poisoning and carbon monoxide poisoning. Methemoglobinemia won't even be a thing. One may ask, well, why do we need to find a cure for methemoglobinemia in the 1900s? Well, as the mining and industrial businesses used more and more chemicals or had more accidental chemical exposures due to poor regulations, methemoglobinemia became more common. Oxygen treatments were not useful enough and could not treat cyanide poisoning, carbon monoxide poisoning, and many others. In 1941, Matilda and Sumner published a monograph on the permeability of living cells. The manuscript was complete in 1939, but because of World War II, there was delays in the publication. And not until 1944 and 1945 that the book could be bought in America. After Matilda discovered methylene blue's oxidizing properties, a man tried to take credit for the discovery. He did eventually admit she discovered it first, but during this time, the research women completed was not widely accepted due to gender discrimination. However, Matilda was determined to be the best she could be and fight for women's rights even though it was unpopular. She especially advocated for women's education in the field of science. Matilda's discovery is still relevant today. However, methylene blue is no longer recommended due to side effects, but sometimes on occasion it is still used.
This is exactly what I'm sorry, Emily.
I can't either.
Oh, sorry. Exactly what we were looking.
We've been looking for this for so long, something like that. I'll just.
Mr. Fuller, if you're in the building, could you please come to the main office? Mr. Fuller, if you're in the building, can you come to the main office?
Mr. Fur, Mr. Fur, are you in the book? The uses for this methane. This is so hard.
Good afternoon. It is now 3 o'clock.
Okay, Mama, stop talking.
Do we want to do it? Because I can't keep a straight face with this little person in here. I really can't.
Oh my gosh.
Her eyes are like staring into my soul.
And she's probably like 13 years old, but
She does look quite mature.
Right. Oh my gosh.
I'm trying to do a voiceover and she keeps growling at this rubber tire.